It is the dead of night in Washington, D.C., and while the Capitol slumbers, a frantic stroke of a pen is rewriting the rules of global warfare. Imagine the scene. Fluorescent lights humming in the State Department as an unprecedented midnight maneuver is executed, completely blindsiding Congress. The payload? Over 20,000 devastating bombs destined for Israel. The price tag? A staggering $660 million. Welcome back to the channel where we cut through the automated wire reads to expose the raw truth of American foreign policy. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment below. Because what we are unpacking today directly impacts the global balance of power. On a quiet Friday night, Secretary of State Marco Rubio dropped a bureaucratic bombshell, declaring an emergency to unilaterally greenlight this massive weapons package. No congressional hearings, no public debate, just a fast-tracked rubber stamp on a deadly arsenal. The stakes could not be higher. According to explosive leaks from current insiders, this isn't just a routine resupply. It's the lethal continuation of a coordinated U.S.-Israeli offensive against Iran that quietly kicked off on February 28th. But here is the bitter irony of the situation. Washington claims this emergency is to decimate Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Yet American strikes already gutted those very sites back in June. So why are the bombs still dropping? Why is the second Trump administration suddenly pulling the fire alarm under the Arms Export Control Act to deliberately sideline lawmakers? The answers reveal a terrifying escalation of executive power and a shadow war spinning wildly out of control. Stick around because the details the State Department conveniently left out of their official press release will shock you. In an unprecedented midnight maneuver, the State Department has just completely circumvented Congress. The payload? Over 20,000 bombs heading straight for Israel, carrying a price tag of nearly $660 million. Based on a bombshell report originally penned by Edward Wong, and frankly, a story that needs a real human voice to unpack, not an automated wire reader. Let's break down the sheer gravity of what just happened behind closed doors. Citing an emergency regarding the escalating war in Iran, the diplomatic wing of the United States has unilaterally greenlit a massive weapons package. No oversight, no congressional debate, just a rubber stamp on a staggering arsenal. Let's look at the chessboard. According to two current insiders and one former official, Israel's current bombardment of Iran isn't happening in a vacuum. It is the continuation of a coordinated offensive that kicked off on February 28th alongside the United States. The objective? Decapitate Iranian leadership and obliterate their ballistic and nuclear capabilities. And here is the profound irony of the situation. Iran's nuclear infrastructure was already largely gutted by an American strike back in June. Yet the bombs keep dropping. In a classic Friday night news dump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio dropped a bombshell of his own. He issued a declaration stating that a critical emergency demands the immediate shipment of 12,000 massive 1,000-pound munitions to Israel. And here is the vital context you need to remember. The Trump administration is currently waging this war in Iran without a shred of formal authorization from Capitol Hill. But you have to read the fine print. The rest of this hardware transfer includes another 10,500-pound explosives, alongside 5,000 small-diameter munitions. Add in the necessary accessories and technical support, and this specific slice of the pie easily crosses the $500 million threshold. Naturally, the State Department conveniently left these numbers out of their official press release. It took two anonymous officials, along with former State Department arms transfer expert Josh Paul, to pull back the curtain and expose the true scale of this rushed sale. These current officials are talking in the shadows because the stakes are sky high. We are witnessing history here. This marks the very first time the second Trump administration has pulled the fire alarm under the Arms Export Control Act to deliberately sideline lawmakers on an Israeli arms deal. Sure, they've dodged the informal congressional review process 3 times prior to push weapons and aid through. But dropping the formal emergency card? That is an aggressive escalation in executive power. Remember January? The State Department gave Congress the cold shoulder then, too, forcing through 4 major weapons systems worth an eye-watering $6.5 billion. We are talking about Apache attack helicopters and heavy combat land vehicles. Those deals had been languishing in committee purgatory for months before the administration simply decided they were done waiting and forced the exports across the finish line. Keep the financial mechanics in mind. Every single year, Washington hands Israel $3.8 billion in military assistance, which largely gets pumped right back into purchasing weapons. More often than not, those arms roll off American assembly lines, though occasionally Israel cuts the check from its own treasury to buy stateside hardware. Now, this executive maneuver isn't entirely without precedent. The Biden White House played the exact same emergency card twice in 2023 following the October 7th Hamas attacks, fast-tracking 13,000 tank shells and a stockpile of artillery as Israel launched its ground invasion of Gaza. The Biden administration also used that same loophole twice to expedite weapons to Ukraine in 2022, when Russian forces launched their full-scale invasion. And let's not forget the first Trump term. Back in 2019, then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo declared an Iran-related emergency to ram through an astonishing $8.1 billion in munitions to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. A brazen move that immediately triggered intense scrutiny from the department's own Inspector General. Fast forward to today. The bombs currently en route to Israel were actually snagged in that same informal congressional review, completely stalled by the 2 relevant committees. Lawmakers are absolutely furious about being bypassed on international arms deals. As one fierce critic noted in a recent statement, the Trump administration has stubbornly insisted they were entirely prepared for this conflict with Iran. But scrambling to invoke emergency powers just to sidestep the legislative branch? That tells a remarkably different story. As the critic bluntly put it, this is an emergency entirely manufactured by the Trump administration itself. And here is a fascinating geopolitical twist to close on. Those massive 1,000-pound bombs? They are manufactured by Repkin USA, a subsidiary completely owned by a Turkish defense firm. Ultimately, the reality on the ground is grim and fast-paced. Both the United States and Israel are burning through their munitions and air defense interceptors at an alarming rate in this ongoing war with Iran. And clearly, Washington is willing to bend every rule in the book to keep the arsenals full. As the dust settles on this $660 million midnight maneuver, the true magnitude of what just occurred comes into terrifying focus. We are no longer just witnessing a foreign conflict. We are watching the fundamental erosion of American legislative oversight. By circumventing Congress to flood the Middle East with 20,000 bombs, the executive branch has set a dangerous precedent. The strategic and political ramifications of this move will echo for decades. Is this the new normal for American democracy, where the gravest decisions of war and peace are made by fiat, wrapped in the convenient cloak of manufactured emergencies? The tension is palpable, and the endgame remains entirely unwritten. If this shadow war continues at its current breakneck velocity, we face 2 incredibly volatile scenarios. In one reality, the sheer overwhelming force of U.S.-Israeli munitions forces a sudden structural collapse in Tehran, triggering a chaotic and unpredictable power vacuum across the Middle East. In another, far more catastrophic timeline, the rapid depletion of our own air defense interceptors and stockpiles leaves the United States critically vulnerable, inviting opportunistic strikes from global adversaries while we scramble to manufacture arms from foreign-owned subsidiaries like Repkin USA. The geopolitical chessboard is burning, and Washington is willing to bend every constitutional rule to keep the fire stoked, leaving the rest of the world holding its breath. What do you think happens next? Will Congress fight back against this aggressive executive overreach, or is the precedent forever set? Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear the truth, and subscribe to the channel for more uncompromising political analysis. We'll see you in the next one.